Well, Pat, there's still so much to discuss today and every day these days as we continue to emerge from the pandemic. And we started off with a nice attendance at masses and at the family celebrations at Pentecost last weekend. I'd like for you to tell us a little bit about a seminar you attended in the Woodlands at Interfaith. To discuss how churches and other businesses, if you will, that are not churches, will thrive coming out of the pandemic, um, and how there will be some that won't. What's the difference between the two?
Yeah, it's exciting. The last few weeks, we've just seen the attendance steadily progressing, and last week on Pentecost Sunday, we saw that same thing. Our 9:30 mass um, broke over 400 people at the mass, um, and so we just see this kind of steady progression of getting bigger. We broke over 2,000 at all of our masses here in the last couple of weeks, and so I did attend this seminar that Interfaith sponsored with senior clergy of all faiths, of all denominations, and they brought in a speaker who led us through a discussion. It's kind of what his hypothesis was, is that the recovery here from the pandemic will be that K curve pandemic, where some will thrive, some will really grow, but others will fail, others will go down. That's true in business. And he said, it's really true with congregations. And so he kind of pointed out, some of the things that would allow a congregation to thrive, and what those things are that would make a congregation thrive. And I was struck by some of his points. His number one point was the sense of the divine transcendence. And when we got around into our small group, as I was talking, it was like, well, that's something that we have as Catholics innate in our service. The divine transcendence is that recognizing the presence of God in your service. And of course, we recognize the real presence of Jesus Christ in the Eucharist. So, the important point there for us is that as Catholics, we really need to emphasize to each other, to our neighbors, in our communities, about how this wonderful gift that we have to receive the Eucharist, to have the Eucharist, and to have that divine presence, that divine transcendence there with us when we come to Mass. And so I think it's really important that we reach out to our neighbors, to our families, to our friends, and keep talking to them about our faith and about what we do believe about the real presence, about Christ really being there, and why it's important to attend Mass and come to Mass. Another one of the points he made that really resonated with me was a sticky community. And we've been talking for the last few years about how we really need to create this community. We really need to create this sense of community. And one of the things that I've seen that's so remarkable coming out of this pandemic is there is just a real desire for community. We see some real excitement with the community. Our Come and Celebrate celebration last Sunday, even though despite the rain and the threat of rain, the people that came over, there was just a really great sense of community, a really great sense of wanting to be part of the community. We had new parishioners that were coming over that have moved into the area during this whole COVID pandemic, and they were just thriving to be part of the community. Our ministers, our leaders who help participate, to come and celebrate, you could really see a real sense of enthusiasm on their part to continue to build our community here. And so we need to continue to work together to form that community, to reach out to our neighbors, to reach out to each other, to really build a strong community here. And finally, the last point he made, and there's a couple of dimensions of it, is about, how coming out of this pandemic, so many of us are hurting. And we really need to reach out to each other, meet each other where we're at, to recognize the pain. We've been throughout this pandemic working. Deacon Kenneth has been working with our pastoral care team to how can we really accompany people who are hurting, and so I'm really excited that we can have a more robust ministry as we come out of this pandemic, of really being able to reach out and meet people where they're hurting, whether it be in the hospital or in our nursing homes, or the grief ministry at the funerals, or just with the day-to-day problems that we deal with. We've got a great divorce recovery team here, and we have the Rejoice Counseling available for people who just are struggling with life, particularly in this pandemic throughout this last year. And so we really want to emphasize those. But also, on the other hand, we want to reach out to those who are in need. And I've been really excited these last few weeks about how we as a community have reached out in need. All of the great work we did around the Easter with the Easter food baskets and the shoe and sock collection, and all the drives we've had. Here on Mother's Day, we were just overwhelmed by the supplies that were brought in to the baby shower that we had, the diapers and the bassinets and all the things that were supplied there with the baby shower. Our box of joy there at Easter was such a great success. We need to continue to build on that and look for those opportunities to reach out and serve those. Of course, we have coming up our food packing event on June 12th. I encourage everyone to sign up for that. We're still in need of donations to help us pay for the food that we'll be packing. But it's such a great family event to sign up for the food packing. Get your group, get your small community, get your friends together, and come down and join us packing food. It's a great way for families to come together, communities to come together, to really reach out together and help those in need. So those were kind of the main points that he made in this thing. And I think we as a parish are well on our way to recognizing those points and really building on those points. So I'm really hopeful as we come out of this pandemic about our community here at St. Simon and Jude, and how we are truly recognizing the divine presence, going to come together as a community to reach out, to help each other, to help those that are in need.
I know we're running a little bit long this morning, but I want to ask you briefly about one thing that we noticed last weekend at Masses. Seemed to be different levels of protocol ease issued by the Cardinal. The first one being that there are definite recommendations. For instance, social distancing no longer necessary. Then there is a sort of a middle level encouragement or recommendations. Masks not required but encouraged. And then, as you put it this morning, personal preference. There were not a lot of hand shaking last week at the sign of the peace. So tell us about how that works.
Yeah, so that is all personal preference on the whole handshaking and how the handshaking will come back. I mean, at the sign of peace, especially at daily mass where we're spread out, there's something special about kind of this new routine where people just wave and acknowledge each other, and there is that connection, right? There are ways to form that connection without the physical handshake, and I know some people are still rightfully concerned. I mean, not just because of the pandemic, but just because of the germs that are spread with the handshaking. They're maybe a little more reluctant to shake hands, and so we need to respect that with each other. and you know, it is a sign of peace. Look for those other ways to make that sign of peace, to recognize the other person with a wave or a head nod or all. If you're comfortable, if both parties are comfortable, to shake hands is acceptable. But we've got to respect each other and where each other is at here on that. And there are other ways to show that sign of peace. Mm-hmm.
But for huggers, it's still a tough time. My wife being one of them. So again, personal preference.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and that's where you've always got to just be cautious about the person you're reaching out to. But you know, it both is. I've been hugging again. That's one of the greatest joys has come out of the releasing of this standard, where both parties have been vaccinated or both parties are not afraid of the virus for good reasons, and so we just continue to respect each other's position, but continue to come together. Mm-hmm.
Father, thanks for your time and extended time this morning, but worth it, and things we need to know. Have a good Memorial weekend. We're going to take Monday off, and we'll visit with you again next week at this time.
All right, goodbye.